Welcome to Atikin Plays Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. All right, hi, this is Atikin, and welcome to Series 4, Episode 21 of Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. Now, in the last episode, we worked at dramatically improving how many workers we're getting in the refinery. Now we're getting bad day 350, 400, sometimes even higher. And that has, of course, caused our fuel and bitumen production to increase dramatically. Hooray! That means more money. And it actually, I had to do several things to adjust for that. But we did that by, of course, building this new little village up here. And I said, well, you know, we're making food and alcohol and clothes, and why aren't we maximizing those? So I thought, okay, let's do the same thing for these guys. And I started to think about where can I put flats, and we could easily put some more flats here and probably here, as long as they could walk to this bus stop and this. In fact, there's no doubt we could put more in here, and maybe we will, and maybe it'll be for another industry, I don't know. But then I started poking around these flats, and there just weren't that many people in them. So I just went out and immigrated a bunch, about 600 people into these flats, and lo and behold, 166 out of 170, 50 out of 100, which is actually a little low. It's usually higher than that. We got 59, 70, 70. In other words, yes, we've got many more people coming in. I also upgraded to get them moving. I upgraded all these trains. I'm now running this 115 passenger fast motor wagon. Is that what they call them? Yeah, motor wagon. This guy, the MV853, that we ended up using over here on our line to go into from here to the refinery. So I just upgraded both these lines, the one that goes from here out to the food and alcohol, and the one that goes from here over to the clothing, with these faster, bigger train sets. So that seems to be going nicely. And down here in the steel mill, we bumped this up where we were getting a whole bunch of people, like 400. You see it's only 237, but I've done some reproportioning. Now, Ritz Matt said he thought I should back off on the oil and the steel and build up the coal and iron, and then build up the oil and steel. And all I can say, Ritz Matt, is you haven't watched me play video games very much. I don't back up, and I really don't back up from the bigger moneymaker, and that's the steel. And that's because even if we weren't doing any of this, even if we didn't have any iron, didn't have any coal, we were importing everything, the steel is the moneymaker. So even if you're buying all the imports. However, I did take a look and realized very much so that because of changes made here, was not getting enough people up here. But you can see now we are. You'll also notice right here, there's a second iron ore processing plant. So what changed? You'll also notice we're missing two flats. There were two flats right here, but the pollution from this is starting to get down here, and so built these two flats over here, and then moved the people from here down there, and blew up those two buildings because the pollution here is just getting too close, and didn't want that. Let's look at it here. Okay, you see it's right down in here. It's kind of orange right down in here. So we'll watch that, but we're not going to back up. I'm going to try to fill this thing right back up. So while I'm thinking of it, I want to build at least one more flat, if not two, down here to get some more workers up there. And the deal with this setup here is anybody who can walk to this platform, which is passengers to go downtown for shopping, and also walk to this platform, which is, of course, taking you to the steel mill, then that's a good spot to put another flat. So we're going to see how many, one or two more we can cram in here. I know I can put a 75 right over here. And I wanted to do this because Gary Seal had asked the question. He thought he'd seen where you can build your flats without automatically immigrating people. You can, and here's the deal. You see this thing says get citizens. It normally comes set up kind of like that with ruble set and then this slider. Now let's just walk through this thing. So if I have ruble set, get citizens, and I bump this, let's back up. If I bump this all the way up, it's going to try to fill up the flat with immigrants. I can tone it down and say, nah, I want about that many, about 2/3 of a flat full, or I just want a few people in there. You can play with that and decide how many you want automatically immigrate. You could do those in dollars. You could do, in rubles. You could do dollars and invite the third world immigrants, or you can do what we did for a little while, which was hit this one and say randomly move citizens from existing. So it'll basically, you build a new flat and then people from around the republic will move into that flat. We did that for a while. Well, what I really prefer, my favorite, is this, where you just turn it off and you don't have get citizens. And then what happens is you can build the flat. Now, and that's the key, though. You have to set that before you put the flat down for construction. Unfortunately, you can't go back and change it during construction. No matter how slow the construction is, you can't change it. So I want to put a flat right there. And I'm going to build that footpath because I want to be able to tell where it can walk. All right, so now if we have this flat, it can walk. This can be clumsy. All right, can it walk to that? My word. Can it walk to that platform? It can go to work, yes. Can it walk to here to go to shopping? Yes, it can. So that's a good location for a flat. So we'll let our construction crews build that flat. And I want to see if we could maybe sneak another one in there. Let's see. And again, I'm going to have to build that so I can tell where they can walk. Can he walk to work? Yes. And he certainly can walk to shopping. Yes. So there's a good spot. So we'll let our construction crews build those two. And I'd love to put one more, maybe one big one in here if it would fit. But I think if I put one here, it's going to have a long, let's just see, how long a walk is that? 210. No, it should be able to do it. If we had a path like between these two flats, like so, and then we had one of these large buildings out here like this. Okay. And now we'll have to build that so we can find out. Can he walk where he needs to go? No and no. That's not a good spot. He can't get to work or to play. So, bye-bye. We'll leave the path. It's not hurting anything. It's not helping anything, but it's not hurting anything. All right, so we'll get those two built. Construction management. These fellas over here should take care of that. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So we should see construction management work on that. All right. So what else was there to catch you up on? Oh, well, so look in here. Look at that iron. Look at that coal. Now we're not importing any iron or coal. I do want to, however, get more people working in here. I want it back up to the 400. Basically rob Peter to pay Paul a little bit by making sure we had people going out here. And what I did was I took some of those buses that were running from down here and actually had them go all the way up to the ore mine. and also set up another bus line to drag workers up to this iron ore processing plant. So all that kind of steals from our steel mill. But that's okay. Once we get these two built, that'll give us some more people. And then we'll see about potentially, if we really want to, it's getting long. I think that's about all we're going to do. I think that's just, we're going to have what we have. Also notice we have two trains going. I have one train that runs to Molna and one train that goes to Borislav. So we're exporting steel to Western and Eastern Bloc ports. Now, on the coal front, well, you notice too, our construction management finally finished that other power plant. I've got it shut down right now because I've got to figure out how to staff it. We've got a pollution problem right here for certain. Let me show you. If we look at pollution, see how it's creeping down? Actually, it's sort of cleared up right now. It's kind of bad down to right here and a little iffy when they go out to play. But it's really not that bad in here. But if you look at the average lifespan, it's 68. And if we go over here away from it, it's 86. Down here, 88. Much healthier people down here away from all this coal dust. And so I'm going to leave it for now. It will not be in this first plan, but if we keep going with this, ultimately we would knock all these down, probably these and this, and just move all of this away, move it over here or something. And we might even look into a train line that runs up here and drops people off at the coal mine. And it could even be, I was even thinking it would be an interesting engineering challenge, but run a train line from here that went up, dropped off here, and also came over here and dropped people off to go to these plants, and then maybe buses from here to go over there. But for now, it's going to stay the way it is because it's not part of our immediate plan. My goal right now is to actually finish our goals. I really do want to get back on track with finishing the goals that we set. And if you'll remember, we had the goal of by 1980, we need to turn off our imports for alcohol, food, clothes, meat, and electronics, achieve a happiness of 95% at the end of a year, and have very educated population with a big trade surplus in rubles and in dollars. And we're in pretty good shape on that. So what I wanted to do now is talk about, some other functionality that we never look at. I look at it sometimes, and I want to look at it here with you so that we can kind of figure it out and everybody can understand what's going on. So we have the import and export, which I keep looking at. It kind of gives you the picture of how you doing on your money. And we have the prices out on the global market. And we have this. This is what I want to focus on, the domestic production and consumption. So this kind of tells you, what are you making? First of all, what's everything that you produce? And Dennis, here's your answer. We're going to look at last year. Last year, we produced 1,600 tons of crops, 32,000 tons of oil, 171,000, I guess that's megawatts, I'm not sure, volts, megawatts, I don't know what that is, of power. You can see coal ore, 71,000 tons of coal ore. And then you can look at your consumption. You can see, what do the industries use? Well, they used 104,000, let's call it whatever, units of power. They used 45,000 units of oil, 75,000 tons of coal, 954 tons of fabric. So you can kind of get the idea. So and it gives us broken down by industry, what we use to do construction, what our citizens consumed. This one's very important for our purposes. We'll get back to that. And what our vehicles used up in terms of fuel and electricity. So we've got the fuels of all of our trains are diesel, except for our commuter trains down here in this area, and they are running electric, and that's the 21,000 whatever that is. Whatever that is, whatever that unit is, megawatts, whatever that is, volts, I don't know, megawatts, I guess, of power. So, and then the consumption of manpower, which isn't as interesting to me right now. So what I want to do is go to our spreadsheet, and we looked at our goals, but what I want to do is think about, okay, we need to get alcohol, we've got it, food, clothes, and we have to add the meat. Electronics actually don't matter for our happiness, so we may or may not build them. They're probably not for the plan. So if we go over here and look, I have gone out and brought in, I've updated the pricing, and I've brought in all that data that we just got through looking at. So for the year 1970, for a 1 year period, I've got all the production data. What did we produce? What did our industries consume, and our construction, and our citizens, and our vehicles, and our total, and how are we looking surplus or in the hole? And the reason I wanted to do this is to get the plan straight. I wanted to see if we were okay on certain things, and if, in other words, the big four. All right, alcohol, we're in good shape. We need to be producing 2.5 tons a day to meet the demands that we have. Or we're currently producing 2.5 tons, I should say. We produced 910 tons, and we only consumed 146. So we have a nice surplus. So alcohol is good shape. Then if we go down to clothes, we have a surplus there. We produced 477. We only consumed 114. So clothing, we're in good shape. Provided we have the logistics to move it around, we're in great shape. And we do, by the way. Food, we're in good shape. Not quite great, but 3,806 we produced, 2,676 consumed. We have a surplus. So we are in good shape there. And of course, meat, we're not producing. But that's the one I really wanted to know. We consumed 597 tons of meat in 1970. So that means that we need to make a daily production of 1.6 tons of meat in order to match that consumption. Well, that's the number. That's the magic number. 1.6 tons a day we need to produce. So now let's build our plan for how we're going to get that meat done. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, let me just show you if I don't have any. All right, if we didn't build, let's say we thought, okay, well, I'm just going to build a meat industry, and I'll fully staff it, and I will do it, kind of treat it like the refinery, just pump people in there, and I'll import my livestock. Look at this. It's a total disaster because the livestock's expensive to import, costs you $84,000 each day, 84,000 rubles each day to import what you need to support that meat industry. And you can sell it for a good price, but you're losing money. And the more efficient you are, the more money you lose. So the better you get this staff, the more money you lose. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to look at what could we reasonably build, and later on I'll show you the configuration I have in mind. But the way it works out, we could probably come up with a reasonable set of 6 livestock farms, ranches. And those 6 farms, if we get them working pretty well, they can produce 24 tons of livestock. Well, you'll notice our meat industry at 80% needs 200 tons of livestock, which is beyond ridiculous. But what we're going to actually target, believe it or not, is an 8% efficiency on our meat. So we're going to be producing 10 tons of meat a day. Remember, our goal is 1.6. So that one slaughterhouse at 8% efficiency is all we need to do to blow away our number and make money. So that's our target, 8% efficiency on meat. And that needs 20 livestock, and if we can get our 6 working well, they'll produce 24. we'll turn livestock imports off so we don't ruin our economy, and don't let those numbers fool you. That the spreadsheet's assuming you're exporting both of those. So if we think of that 8% and we just turn off the livestock for a second, this is still the kind of profit that you can make at current prices for the meat. And now, of course, we're not going to be exporting all of that, but actually what we save by not importing is even greater. So this is the impact that meat industry can have on our economy, as long as we don't import any livestock. And so that's going to be our plan. 6 livestock, 1 meat, and we're going to build a little city to support it, kind of similar to the way we did the refinery. So we'll have build a little village with a cinema. It's going to take us, it looks like 12 or 13 flats, so I think we're going to stick with 12. And if that means we have to go down a little bit on efficiency, well, 12 we did 3. Let's see what happens if we put 3 of these, 3 of these, none of the 3 of these. Oh, perfect. So we can build that, we can replicate that little village we built for the refinery. We can replicate that for the livestock and be able to hit our meat goal. So that's what I wanted to know by looking at all this data. That's why I went through looking at the data over here. I wanted to know how much meat do we have to produce? How much are we consuming? And now we know. So 1.6 tons, and our planner says that if we can hit our plan, we can do a production of 10 tons a day, and that will get it. That will get it done. So it's not even grossly expensive to build. So it'll be more than that because I haven't updated the prices of building stuff, and everything goes up. As you go along, the price of everything goes up. So. But if we get that built and get the meat industry going, and my plan is to get that going and get it right over here so it'll be easy to plug into our nice little circle here, our little roundabout, and it will be easy to set up shipments to carry the meat over here for delivery to Nashville, and then over to Mocha over here, and then up to Artist Gilmore in here, and to Virov area, our original refinery area right here. We've got all of them are set and ready to receive the meat. Then we'll set up our truck lines to deliver it, and then we'll do, after you get everybody delivered, we'll let it go out here maybe to Borislav. And no, you know what? I don't think so. We'll let it come back. It'll be easier. We'll let it come back down here, and any excess will go export to Mola, and then it'll start its journey again, just like we're doing with food, alcohol, and clothing. All right, so there's our plan. We have a plan now for how much we want to build, how fast we want to do it. And my version of a 5-year plan, of course, is going to be a 1-year plan. I'm just not that patient. And so the other thing is, what do I want to say here? We also need to get, if we look at last year from pure money point of view, we did 1.3 million in dollars, so Western Bloc exports. So we blew away our surplus goal there. We hit about half of it in rubles at 1 million, but I spent 3 million rubles on vehicles. So I bought 3 big trains, and I'll show you why in a moment. So if you add that to this, we made about 4 million surplus in rubles and 1.3 million in dollars. So we are strong enough economy now to go ahead and try to hit our plan. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I'm not going to pick a date. Like I said, I am going to change one thing, change the rules as I go. We're just going to take a calendar year. So I'm going to, at some point during this year, I'm going to turn off those imports the way we said. And then we're going to look at 1971, probably 72. When we get to the end of 1972, we'll look, because it's much easier to see the data when you can just grab and say, okay, let's look at last year. So rather than us picking dates, we're going to, again, take a calendar year. approach. So that'll be the plan. The plan will be to build out the meat and to get that going, and to turn off all the imports of meat, food, alcohol, and clothing, and electronics, and then we'll run our test and see how we did, and that will allow us to wrap this up. And when I say wrap this up, I don't mean we'll necessarily stop playing this series, but it will allow us to hit the goals that we established at the beginning. And I said I got 3 more trains. Well, I do. Besides upgrading this, I bought added trains so that now here we actually have 4 trains. Got one doing fuel. Got one doing fuel. Got one doing fuel. Well, that's interesting. I've got 1 train more than I thought I did. Let's see. Got bitumen. Got 3 fuel. And I actually thought I had one of these. Tomona. Now that was a little weird. I think this is wrong. Let's see, waiting at the station, that's this one. Heading to this building, that's this one. And waiting at the station is that one. And it flashes that guy, and then it flashes the same one. I think there's something wrong here. Mr. Developer might want to take a look at this. I'm pretty sure I got 3 trains, 2 running fuel, 1 running bitumen, and the bitumen is running, it goes to Molna one time and Borislav the second time to export. That's what I think I have. All right, now the other thing I have is, assuming we can trust this, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3. Now that's actually correct. If it's 3 different trains, yes. We have 3 trains running oil, and that's all they do. They just run down to the oil field, grab oil, bring it back here. 3 trains that just, 2 do fuel, 1 does bitumen, and they just do exports as fast as they can. And we needed that extra horsepower to keep up with the output here now that we've got, 312 is a bad day at the refinery. So, see there, it goes back up, a new train, we've got more trains coming in. So, anyway, we're doing well now. We're doing just fine. So we're in great shape to hit our goal. All we have to do is get that meat industry going. And let me show you, before I wrap this up, I know there haven't been much playing going on here, but that's the nature of the beast. I've started building another farm. And I do have one comment that if we can't do better on crops than what we're doing, actually, in fact, let's just look at that one. I didn't talk about, if we look at, I looked at just the 4, for our citizens, but if we look at crops, which is right here, if we look at crops, we have a huge deficit. We consumed 15,709 tons of crops in our industries in 1970. We consume, that's the food, the alcohol, and the fabrics. Consumed 15,000 tons of crops. We only created or produced 1,600. So we would have to, our current production is 4.4 tons a day. Our required production is 43 tons a day. So we would have to be 10 times what we are now, 9.8 times what we are now, in order to match, to not have crop imports. I don't care about that, but those of you who are looking for self-sufficiency, this is data that's you worth knowing, because we would have to have many huge farms all over the map. I mean, the map would have to look like a crop field in order to hit the numbers, and that's just the numbers we have here with our small little, with 23,000 population. You get up 40, 50,000, obviously you're doubling that requirement. So anyway, that's where we are. So let's see. The plan is to set up the meat. Well, it's kind of always been this, but we have managed to optimize our iron ore and iron. We've got our coal production is looking good. Our health of our folks is not awesome right in here. We'll worry about that in the next 2-year plan. But for this 2-year plan, we're going to build out our meat industry, hook it up. We'll build out those farms, but I have low expectations. And did I mention that this got finished? I think I did. I've actually got it turned off. Yeah, I said that. I've got it turned off till I figure out how to staff it. And given the health issues here, I'm just going to leave it turned off for now. And we'll come back to that when I've got more time to do other things. You can only do so much at once, and what I want to do is, like I said, get the meat going and finish off our goals. All right, so I found that helpful. I think some of you are going to go, oh my God, shut up and play. But I kind of like looking at the numbers and knowing the facts. And the main one I wanted to know was, how much meat do we have to produce? And I think we're going to be in good shape on that. All right. We'll hopefully you aren't all asleep. Those of you who are awake, I hope you'll come back for the next one. Okay, I thought I was done, but I'm not. I got 2 other things I want to cover. This video hadn't gotten too long. So I've got 2 things I want to cover. One is I want to show you, remember I added those trains that are coming into here. Now, you have to be really careful not to create a gridlock, as we know. And so I want to show you what I did to manage this situation. So our challenge is this. If I have 3 trains coming into this, and I have 3 trains coming into this, well, there's only 2 platforms. Now you might think, well, that's okay. 2 of them can go in, 1 can wait. But then the question is, where are they going to wait? Because if they come down here and just wait on this traffic circle, nobody can go through or come out. It's just going to be a mess. So I did this. I built 2 kind of, you could think of them as passing lanes or alternate routes, and I've seen this work. So what happens is a train's coming down here, and it'll just kind of naturally take the shortest route. It'll go right up through there. It'll come up here to a chain signal, and it'll look to see if it's good to go. Well, if it happens to be, let's just say, if it happened to be the other fuel train coming back, it would just sit there because these 2 are occupied. Well, if it's sitting there, it's blocking all the traffic. So to get around that, I built 2 passing lanes. So we've got 2 lanes coming up here. They're both at least 6 tons. They follow the 6-ton rule. There's 6 tons room here. And a train can come down here, and the next train, so imagine there's a train in here waiting to go over here, but there's a train that wanted to go in here now. It'll just come down and say, okay, well, I can't go in there, but I've got my chain signal here says I'm good to go. I could just take an alternate route. So they'll go up here like this. They'll come up here, and while this one may be stopped because he's trying to go in here, this chain signal would say, yeah, you're good to go because you've got an open roundabout and you've got a green light up here you can go. Same thing, we could even have 2 of them stacked up. A third one can come along. Maybe he's trying to go all the way through to Borislav. Fine, he comes down to here. These 2 may be stopped. Maybe there's 2 trains in here, 2 trains in here. The we have 2 trains waiting, one to go here, one to go here. The third train could actually come down here and say, okay, well, I'm cool because I've got an open block and I've got a free lane over here to go. And that only is a problem coming in, going up here to the refinery for loading and unloading. When you come back, even if there are trains stacked up here, it won't matter because you'll still get a clear block here and you'll be able to go through. So that little extra track there just allows this thing to handle even more traffic even more expeditiously. So now we can handle the volume of extra trains coming in here. So you have to be very careful if you add trains to routes. You have to think about where they're going to come in, where their bottlenecks could occur, and make sure you handle them. So that's just kind of what I came up with there. And it still keeps our simple little principle of our roundabout that kind of controls everything one train at a time, but now we can get better throughput through there. And we could think about doing that like here. If I really thought it was a problem, remember when we had like 5 trains stacked up here? If I really thought it was a problem and that happened a lot, we could set up some sort of passing lane deal to get through here, but I really don't think it's necessary given the volume we have. If the volumes increase, we would look into that if we continue to grow the Republic. All right, so that was one thing. The second thing is train related. I was asked to do this, and I actually have recorded this once or twice. And if I've already shown you this, if this is a repeat, forgive me, but I think every time I recorded it, I threw it away. So how to make a roundabout, okay? This is a forged 73 trick. You simply start with some straight track. And then you can go whichever way you want it to wherever you want your roundabout. You just start wrapping back like this and wrap it back toward itself like so. You see how if you try to go too close, it gets messed up, but you can come back toward it. You don't want to be going out this way. You want to come back toward that piece of straight track that you built. And you can see how it makes like a little shepherd's hook, but this top half has that nice curve in it. Now, if we just go right up here to this little dot, which is the junction between that straight line and the curved line, and we go just above that dot, and come back down this way and pull our cursor over, look what happens. Click. We get this line comes out and joins that, and we get the end result is a beautiful circle. And all we have to do to have that circle now is just throw away our starting line and the excess here, and there we go. There is a really nice circle. Now, that's the smallest size you can make, but you might want a bigger one. If you want a bigger one, you just go around it like this, wrap it, and you'll notice how it kind of flips when it gets to a point. That's the halfway point. It's going to flip over. Then you'll have to take the rest of it and do it in 2 pieces, and that's a bigger circle. And then you could go again and run it till it flips. And you'd like to think, well, I can just go around there, but you can't. You have to do it in 2 pieces. Like so, and that gives you a bigger circle. And if you want a bigger circle still, you just like so, and you can make it as big as you wanted, because what you're doing is taking advantage of the fact that the track automatically lines up with next to other track in kind of a snapping thing where it's helping you make double track. Now, if you say you wanted this one out here to be the size that you wanted, that you like, then all you have to do is go in and delete the inner one. So you can if you're careful, you can just use the bulldozer and take them out like so. Or you can use the cancel railway, grab a joint, go to the next one, grab the joint, just work your way around, and there you go. Look at that. That's a beautiful, nice, big crop circle. Keep calling it that. Roundabout. There's a nice, big roundabout, and of course we had our choice of sizes as we went along. So there you go. There's how to put a roundabout in your little network. Now, I will add this. If you decided to add one like where these two are joining, or if we needed to add one here because we were going to hook something in here and wanted to run it into our system, then obviously you're going to have to delete a fairly big chunk of track, and then you can run off of the existing track, build a straight line, figure out where you want your circle to be. You may have to experiment with it too. You may run it out, start it, and look at it and say, no, I'd really like it more up the screen or whatever. You may have to play with it a little bit, but since you're in planning mode, you're on pause, and since you're even though you've got that track out there, you're really not paying for it yet or constructing it yet. You can play with it until you get it right, and then you can do stuff like build a roundabout here. This is a new roundabout for the farm, where we're going to have the farm feeding a silo, feeding a cargo station. The station's going to use this roundabout to plug into the system, probably come down here. We'll see where the meat and livestock go, but probably come down here and come in and make a delivery to the livestock of whatever crops it can come up with up here. All right, so yeah, that's the two other things I wanted to cover: the changes I made up here to manage the throughput in this rather crowded area, and how to make a roundabout. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Workers and Resources Soviet Republic video. Thank you.